Hello there, and welcome back to Whispered Knowledge. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe you've had a long day, or perhaps you're simply curious about the ancient world that existed millions of years before we walked this earth. Either way, you're in exactly the right place. Tonight, we're embarking on a journey through time, traveling back to an era when the planet looked nothing like it does today. An age when colossal creatures thundered across continents, when the skies were ruled by leathery wings, and when the very ground trembled beneath the footsteps of giants. We're going to explore the world of dinosaurs, not just the famous ones you might know from movies or museums, but a rich collection of 100 fascinating facts that reveal just how extraordinary these animals truly were. Some of what you'll hear tonight might surprise you. Much of it will paint vivid pictures in your mind as you drift towards sleep. And all of it is rooted in the latest scientific discoveries that continue to reshape our understanding of these magnificent beings. So settle in, let your shoulders relax, your breathing slow, and your mind wander gently through the mists of deep time. There's nothing you need to do but listen and imagine. And if these quiet explorations help you unwind at the end of your day, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps others discover these peaceful journeys through knowledge, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, let's begin our voyage into the age of dinosaurs. The dawn of discovery. The story of how we came to know about dinosaurs is almost as fascinating as the creatures themselves. For most of human history, these animals remained hidden, their bones buried beneath layers of rock and sediment, waiting patiently to reveal Earth's ancient secrets. When people occasionally stumbled upon enormous fossilized bones, they had no framework for understanding what they'd found. Some cultures interpreted them as the remains of dragons. Others thought they might be the bones of giants from mythological times. The truth would prove even more wondrous than these imaginative explanations. The first dinosaur ever scientifically described was Megalosaurus, discovered in England in 1824. A British geologist named William Buckland examined a large jawbone and some teeth, recognizing that they belonged to an extinct reptile of enormous size. He named it Megalosaurus, meaning great lizard, though he couldn't have imagined just how different this creature was from modern lizards. Around the same time, other fossils were being unearthed in England, including the remains of Iguanodon, an herbivore whose thumb spike was initially mistaken for a horn on its nose. But it wasn't until 1842 that these ancient creatures received their collective name. Sir Richard Owen, a brilliant and sometimes controversial British anatomist, coined the term Dinosauria, meaning terrible lizards or fearfully great reptiles. Owen recognized that these extinct animals shared certain features that set them apart from other reptiles. They had an upright stance, with legs positioned directly beneath their bodies, rather than sprawling out to the sides like those of lizards and crocodiles. This discovery marked the birth of dinosaur paleontology as a scientific discipline. The pace of dinosaur discovery accelerated dramatically throughout the 19th century, particularly during what became known as the Bone Wars in North America. Two rival paleontologists, Edward Drinker Cope and Othniel Charles Marsh, competed fiercely to discover and name new species. Their bitter rivalry led to incredible scientific discoveries, but also to rushed descriptions and sometimes to the deliberate destruction of fossil sites to prevent the other from making finds. Despite the less than admirable conduct, their work resulted in the discovery of dozens of new dinosaur species, including famous names like Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, and Diplodocus. Today, dinosaur discovery continues at an astonishing pace. In 2025 alone, 44 new dinosaur species were named, nearly one per week. This golden era of dinosaur science is driven by new fossil discoveries in places like China, Argentina, and Mongolia, combined with increasingly sophisticated analytical techniques. Modern paleontologists use advanced imaging technology to peer inside fossils without damaging them, chemical analyses to detect traces of organic material, and computer modeling to reconstruct how these animals moved and behaved. The year 2025 brought several revolutionary discoveries. Scientists confirmed that Nanotyrannus, long debated as either a distinct species or juvenile Tyrannosaurus rex, was indeed a separate tyrannosaur species that coexisted with T-Rex in the final million years before the asteroid impact. This finding completely rewrites our understanding of predator diversity in late Cretaceous North America. In Mongolia's Gobi Desert, researchers unveiled Zavicephali, a stunning 1-meter-long plant-eating dinosaur from 110 million years ago, so well preserved that it drew audible gasps even from experienced paleontologists at academic conferences. And in Romania's Harteg Basin, excavators discovered one of the densest concentrations of dinosaur fossils ever found, with more than 100 vertebrate fossils per square meter, bones lying almost directly on top of one another, preserved in what had been a flood-fed lake 72 million years ago. These modern discoveries rely heavily on technology that would have seemed like science fiction to the pioneers of paleontology. High-resolution CT scanning allows researchers to create detailed three-dimensional models of fossils still partially encased in rock. Chemical analyses can detect pigment molecules called melanosomes, preserved in fossil feathers, revealing that some dinosaurs were not uniformly grey or brown, but displayed vibrant colours and complex patterns. Isotopic analysis of teeth and bones can tell us about diet, migration patterns, and even body temperature. And computer simulations help us understand how dinosaurs moved, how fast they could run, and how their bodies functioned. We now know of approximately 1,400 named dinosaur species from more than 90 countries around the world. But this represents only a tiny fraction of the dinosaur species that actually existed. The incomplete fossil record means that most species that ever lived have left no trace. Most dinosaurs that ever lived never fossilized, their remains decomposing or being destroyed before they could be preserved. Of those that did fossilize, most remain buried, waiting to be found, or have been eroded away over millions of years. The fossil record, as paleontologists say, is woefully incomplete, like trying to read a book when 99% of the pages are missing. Yet, from this fragmentary record, we've pieced together an extraordinary story. We've learned that dinosaurs dominated Earth's terrestrial ecosystems for approximately 165 million years, from the late Triassic period, around 230 million years ago, until the end of the Cretaceous period, 66 million years ago. To put that in perspective, humans and our immediate ancestors have existed for only about 6 million years. Dinosaurs reigned supreme for a period nearly 30 times longer than the entire human lineage has existed. They witnessed the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea, the rise and fall of mountain ranges, and dramatic changes in global climate. They evolved into thousands of species, adapted to environments from polar regions to equatorial forests, and ranged in size from creatures smaller than pigeons to the largest land animals ever to walk the earth, titans of the Mesozoic. When we think of dinosaurs, we often picture enormous creatures, and for good reason. The largest dinosaurs were the biggest land animals in Earth's history, dwarfing even the largest elephants by many times. These giants belonged to a group called sauropods, characterized by their long necks, long tails, massive bodies, and 4 pillar-like legs. Understanding just how large these animals grew requires more than simply listing measurements. it requires contemplating what it meant for a living creature to reach such staggering proportions. Argentinosaurus, discovered in Argentina in 1987, represents one of the largest dinosaurs we know of. The first fossil ever found from this species was a single vertebra the size of an adult human. Subsequent discoveries have allowed scientists to estimate that Argentinosaurus reached lengths of over 130 feet, longer than 2 standard bowling lanes placed end to end. Its weight is estimated at around 75,000 kilograms, equivalent to about 17 African elephants, or roughly the weight of a space shuttle. Just the hind legs of Argentinosaurus stood approximately 15 feet tall. If an average human stood beside this creature, they would barely reach the height of its knee. But Argentinosaurus was not alone in achieving spectacular size. Patagotitan majorum, another Argentine giant described in 2017, may have exceeded 120 feet in length and weighed around 69 tons. Supersaurus, found in North America, measured over 130 feet long, making it potentially the longest dinosaur ever discovered. And Sauroposeidon, which lived along what is now the Gulf Coast of North America, could raise its head up to 69 feet in the air, more than twice the height of a typical 2-story house. Imagine looking up at an animal whose head disappeared into low-hanging clouds, whose footsteps you would feel rumbling through the ground from hundreds of feet away. How did these animals support such massive bodies? The answer involves several remarkable adaptations. First, sauropod bones were not solid throughout. Instead, they contained extensive air-filled spaces, similar to the pneumatic bones of modern birds. This system of air sacs extending throughout the body significantly reduced weight while maintaining structural strength. Some sauropod vertebrae were up to 90% air by volume, essentially making them hollow despite their enormous size. This is similar to how modern construction materials use hollow tubes and chambers to maximize strength while minimizing weight. Second, sauropods had incredibly efficient respiratory systems, again similar to those of birds. Air flowed through their lungs in one direction rather than in and out like mammalian lungs, providing a more constant supply of oxygen. This one-way airflow, combined with the extensive air sac system throughout the body, meant that these enormous animals could extract oxygen efficiently enough to fuel their massive muscles and supply their brains, even when their heads were lifted dozens of feet into the air. Third, their body proportions were optimized for supporting tremendous weight. The legs were positioned directly beneath the body, like columns supporting a building, rather than sprawling out to the sides. Their feet were broad and padded, distributing weight across a large surface area. Recent studies have shown that sauropod footprints could be over 3 feet across, and the soft tissue pads in their feet acted like shock absorbers, cushioning each massive step. The necks of sauropods present a particular puzzle. Some species, like Mamenchisaurus from China, had necks containing 42 vertebrae, allowing them to reach extraordinary lengths. The recently described Ligongosaurus yongshengensis also possessed this exceptionally long neck structure. But lifting such a long neck would require enormous muscular effort and create tremendous cardiovascular challenges. How did blood reach a brain positioned perhaps 40 feet above the heart? Scientists continue to debate whether sauropods typically held their necks horizontally or raised them upward like giraffes. Evidence suggests different species may have adopted different postures. Some may have swept their necks in wide arcs to browse on low vegetation without moving their bodies, conserving energy. Others might have reared up on their hind legs to reach the highest branches. The cardiovascular system must have been extraordinary, perhaps incorporating a series of hearts or specialized chambers to push blood upward against gravity. Some researchers speculate that they may have had unusually high blood pressure, though this remains difficult to prove from fossils. These giants needed vast amounts of food. A full-grown Argentinosaurus might have consumed half a ton of plant material every single day. This meant spending most of their waking hours eating, moving slowly through forests and floodplains, stripping branches bare before moving on to fresh feeding grounds. They likely traveled in herds, as evidenced by trackway sites showing multiple individuals moving together, their collective weight leaving deep impressions in ancient mudflats that have now turned to stone. The evolution of giant size in sauropods happened not just once, but repeatedly. An analysis of 250 sauropod species, published in 2023, found that truly enormous size evolved at least 36 times independently over a span of 100 million years. This suggests that becoming gigantic offered significant survival advantages. Perhaps large size provided protection from predators, as even the largest carnivorous dinosaurs would have thought twice before attacking a healthy adult sauropod. Or perhaps it allowed these herbivores to access food sources other animals couldn't reach, giving them an ecological advantage. Interestingly, the evolution toward gigantic size appears to have begun quite early. The newly described Huayracursor from 228 million-year-old rocks in Argentina's Andes Mountains measured only about 6 feet long, but it already showed a relatively elongated neck compared to other dinosaurs from the dawn of dinosaur evolution. This 2-meter-long ancestor hints at the earliest stages in the development of the extreme neck elongation that would characterize later sauropods. The largest flying dinosaur was Quetzalcoatlus, with a wingspan that may have reached up to 33 feet, similar to a small airplane. Though technically a pterosaur rather than a dinosaur in the strict sense, these flying reptiles shared the Mesozoic skies with true dinosaurs. Standing on the ground, Quetzalcoatlus would have stood as tall as a giraffe. Imagine such a creature launching itself into the air, its membranous wings catching thermal updrafts, soaring over landscapes dominated by other giants below. Even the largest marine reptiles of the dinosaur age, though not true dinosaurs themselves, reached spectacular sizes. Shonosaurus, an ichthyosaur from the Triassic period, measured up to 69 feet long. Mosasaurs, like Mosasaurus hoffmanni, reached lengths of 56 feet, making them apex predators in late Cretaceous seas. These marine giants remind us that the Mesozoic world saw evolutionary experiments in gigantism across multiple lineages in various environments, but size came with costs. The largest dinosaurs probably had relatively slow metabolisms and grew gradually over decades to reach their full size. They would have been vulnerable as juveniles before reaching the protective size of adulthood. They needed vast territories to supply sufficient food, and they lived during times when Earth's climate was generally warmer and wetter than today, supporting the lush vegetation necessary to sustain such enormous herbivores and the carnivores that preyed upon smaller animals. Small wonders and miniature hunters. While giants capture our imagination, the smallest dinosaurs are equally fascinating and perhaps more relatable. These diminutive creatures, some no bigger than modern songbirds, reveal that dinosaurs weren't always the massive beasts popular culture tends to portray. In fact, miniaturization played a crucial role in dinosaur evolution, particularly in the lineage that eventually gave rise to birds. The smallest non-avian dinosaur known from adult specimens is a matter of ongoing debate and discovery. Parvicursor remotus, whose name literally means small runner, measured just 39 centimeters long and weighed only 162 grams, about the weight of a smartphone. However, In 2022, researchers recognized that the holotype specimen was actually a juvenile, not a fully grown adult, which complicates size comparisons. Anchiornis huxleyi, a feathered dinosaur from China's late Jurassic deposits, may have weighed as little as 110 grams as an adult, though some specimens reached larger sizes. Among the smallest dinosaurs, Microraptor deserves special mention. This crow-sized theropod, discovered in China and dating to approximately 125 million years ago, weighed around 1 kilogram and possessed one of the most unusual features of any dinosaur: 4 wings. Feathers extended from all 4 limbs, suggesting this animal could glide between trees. Its iridescent black plumage, revealed through analysis of fossilized melanosomes, would have shimmered in dappled forest sunlight. More than 300 specimens of Microraptor have been identified, indicating it must have been remarkably common in its ecosystem. This abundance in the fossil record is itself unusual, as small, delicate animals rarely preserve well. Scientists believe Microraptor spent most of its time in trees, where its 4-winged configuration allowed it to glide from branch to branch, hunting insects and small vertebrates. Compsognathus, once considered the smallest known dinosaur, measured about 1 meter in length, roughly the size of a turkey. It weighed approximately 3 kilograms and was a swift predator that hunted lizards and other small prey. We know its diet with certainty because fossilized stomach contents have been found in 2 different specimens, showing the preserved remains of small lizards that were the dinosaur's last meals. Compsognathus had long, narrow legs built for speed, a long tail for balance, and sharp teeth designed for grasping rather than slashing. For decades, it held the record as the smallest dinosaur and was famous for its superficial similarity to Archaeopteryx, the famous first bird. In fact, one Archaeopteryx specimen lacking clear feather impressions was misidentified as Compsognathus for many years. Other tiny dinosaurs include Epidexipteryx, whose name means display feather, measuring less than 45 centimeters. Fruitadens, a heterodontosaurid from North America, measured between 65 and 75 centimeters and weighed only half a kilogram to 3/4 of a kilogram, making it one of the smallest ornithischians. Bamburaptor, despite its diminutive size of only about 1 meter long, showed sophisticated features suggesting high intelligence. Its brain size fell within the lower range of modern birds, indicating agility and complex behavior. Research suggests Bamburaptor might have been able to hold food with its grasping forelimbs and bring it to its mouth, a surprisingly advanced capability. The smallest dinosaurs faced unique challenges. Being small meant they were vulnerable to predators, including larger dinosaurs, early mammals, and even flying pterosaurs. They had to be quick, agile, and clever to survive. Their small size also meant they lost body heat rapidly, which may explain why many of the smallest dinosaurs were covered in feathers or feather-like structures. These coverings would have provided insulation, keeping their bodies warm and allowing them to maintain active lifestyles even in cooler conditions. But small size also offered advantages. Small dinosaurs needed far less food than their giant relatives, allowing them to survive in environments where resources were limited. They could access ecological niches unavailable to larger animals, hunting insects, raiding nests for eggs, or feeding on seeds and small fruits. Their light bodies allowed them to move through tree branches, climb vertical surfaces, and eventually, in some lineages, take to the air. The evolutionary trend towards smaller size was most pronounced in the theropod lineage that led to birds. Over a period of 50 million years, these dinosaurs shrank continuously, from an average of 163 kilograms down to less than 1 kilogram. This is the only dinosaur lineage known to have gotten consistently smaller over such an extended time frame. And crucially, this miniaturization happened at about 4 times the average rate of other evolutionary changes in dinosaurs, suggesting it was being driven by strong, selective pressure. Becoming smaller allowed these dinosaurs to exploit new food sources, avoid competition with larger predators, and eventually develop the lightweight bodies necessary for powered flight. Today, the smallest living dinosaurs are birds, with the bee hummingbird holding the record at just 1.9 grams and 5.5 centimeters long for females, even tinier than any non-avian dinosaur we've discovered. This tiny creature, hovering at flowers in Cuban forests, represents the endpoint of a miniaturization process that began in the Jurassic period over 150 million years ago. Feathers, colors, and revealed beauty. Perhaps no scientific discovery has transformed our image of dinosaurs more dramatically than the revelation that many species were covered in feathers. For most of the history of paleontology, dinosaurs were reconstructed as scaly, reptilian creatures, their skin imagined as similar to that of modern lizards or crocodiles. This view began to change in the 1990s with discoveries from China that revolutionized our understanding of how dinosaurs actually looked. The first feathered, non-avian dinosaur discovered was Sinosauropteryx, unveiled at a scientific conference in 1996. When paleontologist Ji Cheng presented photographs of this fossil from China's Liaoning province, it caused an immediate sensation. The turkey-sized dinosaur showed clear evidence of a covering of filamentous structures along its head, neck, back, and tail. These weren't quite like modern bird feathers, more like a thick coat of hair-like filaments, but they were unmistakably epidermal structures made of keratin. Some appeared to be branched, hinting at the complexity that would evolve into true feathers. The Liaoning deposits, formed when ancient lakes preserved organisms in fine-grained sediment, proved to be a treasure trove of feathered dinosaurs. Specimen after specimen emerged, showing various types of feathery coverings, simple fur-like filaments, downy structures like those covering baby chicks, hollow quills resembling those of porcupines, large tail fans similar to pheasant plumage, and fully developed flight feathers indistinguishable from those of modern birds. All these feather types existed in non-avian dinosaurs, including species not closely related to the bird lineage. Some discoveries were particularly spectacular. Specimens nicknamed Dave, a probable Sinornithosaurus, showed clear filamentous feathers covering its body. Bapiosaurus, a therizinosaur quite unrelated to the ancestors of birds, sported elongated feather-like structures. Utyrannus, a 30-foot-long tyrannosaur from early Cretaceous China, was covered in a shaggy coat of primitive feathers, making it the largest feathered dinosaur known. Its name means beautiful feathered tyrant, and it lived in relatively cool environments where the insulating properties of its feather covering would have been advantageous. We also have indirect evidence of feathers on dinosaurs where soft tissue wasn't preserved. Quill knobs are bumps on the arm bones, where large feathers attached in modern birds. When paleontologists discovered quill knobs on the forearms of velociraptor fossils, it provided definitive proof that these famous raptors had feathered wings, even though no feather impressions had been preserved with those particular specimens. Similarly, some dinosaurs possess pygostyles, fused tail vertebrae that in modern birds support large tail feathers. The presence of these structures strongly suggests the presence of feathers, even when the feathers themselves didn't fossilize. In 2011, Amber from Myanmar yielded preserved dinosaur feathers from 75 to 80 million years ago, providing our first three-dimensional views of dinosaur plumage. One specimen, found by researcher Lida Xing at an amber market, contained part of a feathered tail, marking the first definitive discovery of dinosaur material in amber. The feathers showed intricate details of their structure, including color patterns. Which brings us to one of the most exciting recent developments, discovering the actual colors of dinosaur feathers. This became possible through the study of melanosomes, microscopic pigment-carrying structures within feathers. Different shapes and arrangements of melanosomes produce different colors in modern birds. By examining melanosomes preserved in fossil feathers and comparing them to those in living birds, scientists can reconstruct the colors and patterns of extinct dinosaurs. Sinosauropteryx, it turns out, had a striped tail with alternating rusty red and white bands. Anchiornis had a striking pattern of white and black markings with a reddish crest on its head. Microraptor's black feathers displayed iridescence similar to modern crows. Psittacosaurus, a small ceratopsian, had countershading, with darker coloring on its back and lighter coloring on its belly, a camouflage pattern common in modern animals. Most dramatically, research published in December 2025 revealed that even some sauropod dinosaurs had color patterns. Exceptionally preserved skin from a juvenile Diplodocus, found in Montana's Mother's Day quarry, contained impressions of melanosomes in such detail that researchers could determine this enormous herbivore had conspicuous patterns across its scales. While the team refrained from attempting a complete color reconstruction, they confirmed that sauropods were not uniformly gray or brown as typically depicted, but rather displayed complex coloration like other dinosaurs and modern reptiles. Why did dinosaurs have feathers? Initially, scientists assumed feathers evolved specifically for flight, but the discovery of feathers on numerous ground-dwelling, clearly flightless dinosaurs showed this couldn't be the complete answer. Feathers likely evolved first for insulation, helping dinosaurs maintain stable body temperatures. As dinosaurs evolved more active lifestyles and potentially warm-blooded metabolisms, the ability to retain heat would have been crucial. Feathers may also have played important roles in display and reproduction. Many feathered dinosaurs show sexually dimorphic features, suggesting males and females looked different, often with males having more elaborate plumage. The long, ribbon-like display feathers of Ubirajara, a small dinosaur from Brazil, projected from its shoulders like no feathers seen in any modern animal. These could only have served for visual display, perhaps in courtship rituals or territorial disputes. The fact that fossil feathers often show iridescence and pigmentation patterns supports the hypothesis that visual display was a primary function. Epidexipteryx, whose name literally means display feather, had 4 long tail plumes that were completely unsuited for flight, but would have made impressive ornaments. Oviraptor specimens have been found in brooding positions, sitting atop nests with their feathered arms spread over eggs, exactly as modern birds incubate their clutches. The feathers would have insulated the eggs, maintaining optimal temperatures for embryo development. Not all dinosaurs had feathers, of course. Skin impressions from many species show scales, very similar to those of modern reptiles. Large dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex probably had limited feather coverage, if any, as adults. When you're several tons in weight, overheating becomes a greater problem than staying warm, and scales are more efficient for shedding excess heat. However, evidence suggests young tyrannosaurs may have been fuzzy, then lost most of their feather covering as they matured and their body size increased. The distribution of feathers across the dinosaur family tree remains an active area of research. Some scientists argue that feathers, or at least simple feather-like structures, evolved very early in dinosaur history and were inherited by many lineages. Others suggest feathers evolved multiple times independently in different groups. Recently, some researchers have proposed that the common ancestor of dinosaurs and pterosaurs might have had simple feather-like filaments, which would push the origin of these structures back even further in time. What we can say with certainty is that the popular image of dinosaurs as scaly, lizard-like creatures is profoundly outdated. Many dinosaurs were fluffy, colorful, and in some cases, quite beautiful. Walking through a Mesozoic forest would have been more like walking through an exotic bird sanctuary than through a lizard house at a zoo. Predators, the hunters of lost worlds. Carnivorous dinosaurs, the theropods, evolved into some of the most spectacular predators ever to walk the earth. From chicken-sized hunters to the massive apex predators that dominate popular culture, these meat-eaters displayed remarkable diversity in size, hunting strategies, and ecological roles. Tyrannosaurus rex remains the most famous predator of all time, and for good reason. This late Cretaceous giant, which lived in western North America around 66 million years ago, could reach 40 feet in length and weigh up to 9 tons, making it one of the most massive land predators ever. But T-Rex wasn't just large, it was a supremely efficient killing machine. Its skull, measuring up to 5 feet long, was a masterpiece of engineering, with thick bones that could withstand tremendous stresses. Biomechanical studies suggest its bite force may have reached over 6 tons, with some estimates extending to 12 tons in the strongest individuals, which would have exceeded the bite force of any living animal and been sufficient to crush bone. The teeth of T-Rex were not blade-like like those of many other theropods, but thick and spike-shaped, designed to puncture and crush rather than slice. This allowed the dinosaur to break through the armor of ceratopsians and ankylosaurs and to access the nutritious marrow inside bones. Bite marks on fossil bones show that T-Rex regularly fed on other dinosaurs' remains and the presence of partially digested bone in fossilized teeth. Rex droppings confirms it consumed and digested bones, extracting nutrients other predators would have wasted. Recent discoveries have added nuance to our understanding of T-Rex. We now know that young tyrannosaurs were quite different from adults, with longer legs proportionally and lighter builds, making them faster and more agile. As they grew, they became heavier and more powerful but slower. This ontogenetic niche partitioning meant that young and adult tyrannosaurs hunted different prey and didn't compete directly with each other for resources. Furthermore, the confirmation in 2025 that Nanotyrannus was a distinct smaller tyrannosaur species, rather than a juvenile T-Rex, means that late Cretaceous ecosystems contained multiple tyrannosaur predators of different sizes, creating more complex food webs than previously thought. But T-Rex, despite its fame, was not the largest theropod. That distinction may belong to Spinosaurus, which lived in what is now North Africa, approximately 95 million years ago. Spinosaurus could reach lengths of around 60 feet, though much of this was tail. Recent discoveries have revealed that Spinosaurus was highly specialized for an aquatic lifestyle, with dense bones for buoyancy control, a crocodile-like snout, conical teeth suited for catching fish, and a paddle-like tail. It spent much of its time in rivers, using its powerful tail to propel itself through water, hunting large fish and other aquatic prey. The distinctive sail on its back, formed by elongated neural spines, may have served for display, thermoregulation, or even as a dorsal fin when swimming. Giganotosaurus from Argentina and Carcharodontosaurus from North Africa were also enormous predators, rivaling or possibly exceeding T-Rex in length, though likely not in overall mass. These southern hemisphere predators lived earlier than T-Rex and hunted different prey in different environments. The recent discovery in 2025 of several spinosaurid species in Europe, including Ceratasuchops and Rhyoparovenata from the Isle of Wight, has shown that semi-aquatic spinosaurs were more widespread than previously thought and may have originated in Europe before spreading to other continents. Different theropods employed different hunting strategies. The dromaeosaurs, or raptors, were medium-sized predators equipped with a characteristic enlarged sickle-shaped claw on each foot. Deinonychus, discovered in Montana in the 1960s, was about 10 feet long and showed clear adaptations for an active, agile lifestyle. Its stiffened tail acted as a balance beam, allowing it to make rapid turns while running. The famous killing claw could be held up while walking and then slashed downward to wound prey. Velociraptor, though smaller than movies suggest, at only about 6 feet long and weighing around 30 pounds, was a sophisticated predator. We now know it had feathered wings, though it couldn't fly. These may have been used for display, for balance when running, for protecting nests, or for helping the dinosaur maintain position while standing on prey. A famous fossil called the fighting dinosaurs preserves a velociraptor locked in combat with a protoceratops, both apparently killed and buried suddenly during their struggle, perhaps by a collapsing sand dune. Some theropods hunted in packs, as evidenced by multiple individuals preserved at some sites and by trackways showing groups moving together. Deinonychus remains have been found associated with Tenontosaurus skeletons, suggesting cooperative hunting of prey, larger than any individual predator could bring down alone. However, pack hunting in dinosaurs remains somewhat controversial, as other evidence suggests many theropods were more solitary. The smallest theropods were also predatory, hunting insects, small mammals, and other tiny prey. Parvicursor and its relatives had specialized forelimbs for digging, possibly to excavate insects from rotting wood or soil. These tiny hunters filled ecological roles similar to modern insectivores, demonstrating that not all predatory dinosaurs were fearsome giants. Theropods weren't limited to standard body plans. The Resinosaurus possessed enormously elongated claws, extending up to 3 feet long on each hand. For years, these bizarre fossils puzzled scientists, but we now understand that despite their theropod ancestry, their Resinosaurus had evolved into herbivores or omnivores, using their massive claws to pull down branches or tear apart termite mounds. Oviraptor and its relatives had short, deep beaks with no teeth, adapted for crushing hard food items. Some may have eaten mollusks, using their powerful jaws to crack shells. Others probably ate a varied diet, including seeds, fruits, and small animals. Among the most remarkable predatory dinosaurs was Carnotaurus from Argentina, with its peculiar horned skull and extremely reduced forelimbs that were even more vestigial than those of T-Rex. Its skull was short and deep, suggesting powerful bite force despite its relatively small size. Skin impressions show it was covered in small, rounded scales with larger conical scales scattered across the body. This is some of the most complete theropod skin known, providing rare insight into how these predators appeared in life. Speed was crucial for many predatory dinosaurs. For decades, estimates of dinosaur running speed varied wildly, with some researchers suggesting small theropods could sprint at 40 miles per hour or more. However, a 2025 study has tempered these estimates, showing that two-legged dinosaurs were probably considerably slower than previously thought. Biomechanical modeling indicates that even the fastest dinosaurs likely topped out around 20 20 to 25 miles per hour, still quick enough to catch most prey, but far from the sprinting cheetah speeds sometimes imagined. The senses of theropods were acute. Tyrannosaurus rex had enormous eye sockets and areas of the brain devoted to vision, suggesting excellent eyesight, possibly with binocular vision for depth perception. Its sense of smell was exceptional, with large olfactory bulbs indicating it could detect scents from great distances. This would have helped it locate carcasses to scavenge, as well as track living prey. Troodon had the largest brain-to-body ratio of any non-avian dinosaur and enormous eyes, suggesting it was highly intelligent and may have hunted at night when its visual acuity would have given it an advantage. Herbivores, giants, and their defenses. While predatory dinosaurs often steal the spotlight, herbivores were far more numerous and diverse. These plant eaters evolved a remarkable array of adaptations for defense, food processing, and survival in a world filled with large predators. From armored tanks to horned giants, from duck-billed herds to long-necked browsers, herbivorous dinosaurs demonstrated that being prey did not mean being helpless. The ceratopsians, or horned dinosaurs, developed some of the most impressive defensive adaptations. Triceratops, perhaps the most famous, stood 10 feet tall at the shoulder, measured 30 feet long, and weighed up to 11 tons. Its massive skull, which could reach over 7 feet in length, bore 3 horns, 2 above the eyes, each capable of growing to 3 feet long, and a shorter nose horn. These weren't just for show. Healed wounds on fossil frills suggest Triceratops used its horns in combat, possibly with predators, but also in contests with other Triceratops over dominance or mates. The frill itself served multiple functions. It protected the neck, anchored powerful jaw muscles, and provided a display surface that may have featured bright colors or patterns. Different ceratopsian species had dramatically different frill shapes and horn configurations, suggesting these features played important roles in species recognition. Some species, like Styracosaurus, had elaborate frills festooned with long spikes. Others, like Pachyrhinosaurus, had thick bosses of bone instead of horns, perhaps used in headbutting contests similar to modern bighorn sheep. The recently discovered Lococeratops from Montana, described in 2024, displayed striking asymmetrical blade-like horns on its frill, unlike anything seen in other ceratopsians. These extravagant ornaments emphasize rapid, evolutionary turnover in ceratopsian frill features and underscore how display drove diversity in this group. Ankylosaurs took an entirely different defensive approach: heavy armor. These dinosaurs were covered in bony plates called osteoderms embedded in their skin, creating a shell similar to that of armadillos, though far more massive. Ankylosaurus, one of the largest members of this group, measured up to 26 feet long and weighed nearly 8 tons. Its body was protected by thick armor, with even its eyelids reinforced with bone. Most spectacularly, it wielded a heavy club at the end of its tail, formed from fused vertebrae and covered in bone. This tail club wasn't ceremonial. Biomechanical studies show that a full-force swing from an Ankylosaurus tail could generate enough force to break bones. Imagine a tyrannosaur approaching what it thinks is an easy meal, only to receive a crushing blow to its leg that could shatter bone. Even if the club didn't make direct contact, the psychological effect of seeing this formidable weapon would have made predators think twice. The recent discovery of ankylosaurian fossils with bizarre adaptations continues to surprise researchers. One 2025 find showed a species with giant neck spikes, redefining what we thought possible in ankylosaur evolution. Stegosaurs carried defensive armor in the form of plates and spikes, Stegosaurus itself bore 2 rows of large bony plates along its back and 4 long spikes on its tail, called the thagomizer by paleontologists, a term coined by cartoonist Gary Larson that has been unofficially adopted. These tail spikes could be swung with considerable force. An Allosaurus vertebra has been found with a hole punched through it that perfectly matches a Stegosaurus thagomizer spike, providing direct evidence of combat between these species. The function of the back plates remains debated. They were too thin and fragile to provide effective armor. They may have served for thermoregulation, with blood vessels running through them, allowing the dinosaur to shed or absorb heat by controlling blood flow. Or they may have been primarily for display, making the animal look larger from the side. Perhaps they served multiple functions, with thermoregulation, defense signaling, and species recognition all playing roles. Hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs, took a different survival strategy, living in large herds. Species like Edmontosaurus, some of the most common dinosaurs in late Cretaceous North America, traveled in groups numbering in the hundreds or possibly thousands. Safety in numbers meant many eyes watching for predators and confused predators having difficulty selecting a single target. Fossil footprints show these herds on the move, adults and juveniles traveling together, probably migrating between summer and winter feeding grounds. Hadrosaurs possess sophisticated teeth arranged in dental batteries, with hundreds of teeth packed together to form grinding surfaces that were constantly replaced throughout life. This allowed them to process tough plant material efficiently. Some species like Corythosaurus and Parasaurolophus bore elaborate hollow crests on their heads, extensions of the nasal passages that could have served as resonating chambers for producing loud calls. Research suggests different species produce different calls, allowing them to identify their own kind, even in mixed species herds. The recent re-examination of Edmontosaurus in 2025 revealed new details about its fleshy crest, a soft tissue structure that wouldn't normally fossilize, but was preserved in some exceptional specimens. This crest, extending up from the top of the skull, would have been brightly colored in life and used in social displays. Such soft tissue features remind us that the fossil record preserves only a fraction of these animals' appearance. Sauropods relied primarily on their enormous size for defense. A full-grown Argentinosaurus or Patagotitan would have been effectively invulnerable to predation, simply too massive for any predator to kill. However, juveniles were vulnerable, which is why trackway evidence suggests sauropods traveled in groups with young protected in the center. Some sauropods possessed additional defenses. Diplodocus had a long whip-like tail, and some researchers have proposed it could have been cracked like a bullwhip. Computer models suggest such a motion might have produced loud sounds, potentially startling or deterring predators that approach too closely. Titanosaurs, the dominant sauropods of the late Cretaceous, often bore armor plates in their skin, adding protection to already formidable size. Recently discovered titanosaurs from Transylvania show that even relatively small sauropods from island environments retained osteoderms, suggesting these armor plates served important functions beyond simple defense. Many herbivorous dinosaurs exhibited elaborate display structures. Pachycephalosaurs, the dome-headed dinosaurs, had thick skull roofs of bone up to 10 inches thick. For years, scientists debated whether they used these domes in headbutting contests. Modern analysis of the bone structure shows it could indeed withstand impacts, and healed injuries on skulls support the idea of intraspecific combat. However, the skulls may have been too delicate for full-force collisions, and pachycephalosaurs might have engaged in flank butting instead. striking each other's sides rather than engaging in head-to-head rams. Plant-eating dinosaurs shaped their environments in profound ways. Like modern elephants, large herbivores would have knocked down trees, trampled vegetation, and created clearings in forests. Their droppings fertilized soil and spread seeds across vast distances. The coevolution of flowering plants and herbivorous dinosaurs during the Cretaceous period may have driven diversification in both groups, with plants developing new defensive chemicals and growth strategies, while dinosaurs evolved new feeding adaptations to overcome plant defenses. The recently discovered Istiorachis from the Isle of Wight featured a striking sail-like structure along its back, similar to Spinosaurus, but on an herbivore. This 6-meter-long ornithopod lived 128 million years ago, and its sail may have served for display, making it appear larger to predators, while also allowing recognition by potential mates. The Isle of Wight continues to yield remarkable dinosaur discoveries, with 3 new large ornithopod species named just since 2021 by Jeremy Lockwood, showing that even well-studied areas can harbor new surprises. Daily life, nesting, growth, and social worlds. Beyond hunting and defense, dinosaurs engaged in complex behaviors that sustain their species and shape their communities. From courtship rituals to nest building, from caring for young to social hierarchies, dinosaurs lived rich lives that we're only beginning to understand through fossil evidence. Dinosaurs laid eggs, as revealed by numerous nesting sites discovered worldwide. But unlike modern reptiles that typically lay their eggs and leave, many dinosaurs showed sophisticated parental care. The most famous evidence comes from Oviraptor specimens, found sitting atop nests in brooding positions, their arms spread over eggs, exactly like modern birds, incubating clutches. These fossils, from Mongolia's Gobi Desert, show that at least some dinosaurs actively incubated their eggs, maintaining optimal temperatures for embryo development. The structure of dinosaur nests varied by species. Maiasaura, whose name means good mother lizard, built bowl-shaped nests in colonies, with numerous nests spaced evenly apart, just far enough that adults wouldn't interfere with each other, but close enough to provide communal defense against predators. Fossilized nesting grounds in Montana preserve hundreds of nests from multiple nesting seasons, showing that Maiasaura returned to the same sites year after year, similar to modern seabird colonies. Eggs within these nests were carefully arranged, sometimes in spiral patterns. The eggshells show sophisticated structure with multiple layers and pores that allowed gas exchange while preventing excessive water loss. Recent research in 2025 has shown that minerals inside dinosaur eggs, as well as the eggshells themselves, may provide a new method for dating fossils, potentially revolutionizing how we determine the age of dinosaur specimens. The discovery in 2023 of fossils, showing that the earliest dinosaurs laid soft-shelled eggs, similar to those of some modern reptiles, changed our understanding of reproductive evolution. Hard-shelled eggs evolved independently multiple times within dinosaur lineages, showing that this feature is not ancestral to the group, but rather evolved as different lineages adapted to increasingly dry nesting environments. This explains why early dinosaur eggs are exceedingly rare in the fossil record. Soft shells simply don't preserve well. Hatchlings emerge from eggs at various stages of development. Some species had highly altricial young, helpless, and requiring extensive parental care. Others were precocial, capable of moving around and feeding themselves soon after hatching, though they still benefited from parental protection. Studies of fossil embryos and hatchlings show that baby dinosaurs often looked quite different from adults, with proportionally larger eyes and heads, like the young of many modern animals. Growth rates varied dramatically across dinosaur species, Small theropods might reach adult size in a few years. Giant sauropods grew for decades, adding tons of mass each year during their peak growth periods. Bone histology, the study of bone microstructure, reveals growth rings similar to tree rings, allowing scientists to estimate dinosaur ages at death. T-Rex reached adult size by about age 20, but continued growing slowly afterward. Some individuals lived into their late 20s or early 30s, quite old for such large predators. Dinosaurs likely used various forms of communication. The hollow crests of hadrosaurs functioned as resonating chambers, producing calls that could have carried for miles. Computer models of these structures suggest different species produce distinctly different sounds, from deep booming notes to higher-pitched trumpeting. These calls would have helped maintain contact between herd members, warned of danger, and played roles in courtship. Visual displays certainly played important roles. The elaborate frills of ceratopsians, the sails and spines of various species, the colorful feathers of many theropods. All these features speak to the importance of being seen. Some dinosaurs show clear sexual dimorphism in fossils, with one sex bearing more elaborate ornamentation, suggesting intense sexual selection. Courtship displays might have involved elaborate dances, color flashes, and complex vocalizations, similar to modern birds. Trackways provide unique insights into dinosaur behavior. A recently announced site from a quarry in Oxfordshire, England, dubbed the Jurassic Highway, preserves over 200 dinosaur footprints from around 166 million years ago, including both sauropods and theropods. The tracks show dinosaurs traveling together and provide information about speed, gait, and social structure. Some trackways show groups of sauropods moving together with smaller individuals in the center, surrounded by larger adults. Direct evidence of protective herding behavior. Trackways in Bolivia preserve over 16,600 theropod dinosaur tracks across 1,321 separate trackways, representing one of the largest dinosaur track sites ever recorded. This extraordinary site captures a window into an ancient ecosystem, showing the movements of numerous individuals over time, revealing patterns of behavior impossible to deduce from bones alone. Some evidence suggests dinosaurs engaged in aggressive interactions beyond hunting. Bite marks on skulls and frills show that ceratopsians fought with each other, probably over dominance or mates. Pachycephalosaurs bear healed injuries consistent with head-butting contests. Even in cooperative species, hierarchies likely existed, with dominant individuals having priority access to food and mates. The famous dueling dinosaur specimen preserves a Triceratops and a Nanotyrannus in close association, both apparently dying during or immediately after a confrontation. While the exact circumstances remain uncertain, this specimen provides a dramatic glimpse of predator-prey interaction frozen in time. Dinosaur intelligence varied considerably. The ratio of brain size to body size gives rough estimates of cognitive capabilities. Troodon had the highest ratio of any non-avian dinosaur, with relatively large brain and enormous eyes, suggesting it was among the smartest dinosaurs. Its brain structure shows well-developed areas for processing sensory information and coordinating movement, supporting ideas that it was an agile, alert predator capable of complex behavior. Some researchers have speculated about cultural transmission in dinosaurs, the passing of learned behaviors from one generation to the next. Direct evidence is impossible to obtain, but if dinosaurs showed extensive parental care and lived in stable social groups, as evidence suggests, then opportunities existed for young dinosaurs to learn from their elders. Migration routes, feeding techniques, and predator avoidance strategies might have been taught rather than purely instinctive. The discovery of soft tissue remains in some fossils provides hints at internal physiology. Fossilized blood vessels have been identified in T-Rex bones, and while the presence of actual preserved DNA remains controversial and unproven, proteins can survive in fossils, providing information about metabolism and evolutionary relationships. This research continues to push the boundaries of what we can learn from ancient remains. The Mesozoic world, diversity and distribution. Dinosaurs didn't inhabit a single unified environment. Over their 165 million year reign, they spread across every continent, adapted to diverse climates ranging from tropical to polar, and evolved to fill nearly every terrestrial ecological niche. Understanding where and how dinosaurs lived requires appreciating the dramatically different world of the Mesozoic era. When dinosaurs first appeared in the late Triassic period, around 230 million years ago, all the continents were joined together in the supercontinent Pangaea. This meant dinosaurs could spread across vast land areas without ocean barriers. Early dinosaurs were relatively small and not particularly diverse, sharing their world with many other reptile groups that would eventually go extinct. It wasn't until the Jurassic period that dinosaurs really diversified and began to dominate terrestrial ecosystems. By the Jurassic, Pangaea was breaking apart. The Atlantic Ocean began opening as North America separated from Europe and Africa. This continental drift created new habitats and divided dinosaur populations, allowing isolated groups to evolve independently. The Jurassic saw the rise of giant sauropods, the emergence of many predatory theropods, and the appearance of the first birds. The Cretaceous period witnessed further continental fragmentation and saw dinosaur diversity reach its peak. During this time, dinosaurs adapted to a remarkable range of environments. In what is now Montana and Alberta, massive herds of hadrosaurs and ceratopsians roamed coastal plains and river valleys, hunted by tyrannosaurs and dromaeosaurs. In South America, enormous titanosaurs browsed on flowering plants, while predators like Carnotaurus and Giganotosaurus stalked smaller prey. Dinosaurs even inhabited polar regions. In Australia, which during the Cretaceous was positioned much closer to the South Pole and connected to Antarctica, dinosaurs lived at latitudes where they would have experienced months of winter darkness. The discovery in 2025 of 10 exquisitely preserved fossil feathers from Australia, dating to 118 million years ago, provides the first solid evidence of feathered dinosaurs at Earth's poles. These feathers, including downy structures for insulation, and even a fluffy proto-feather likely from a small dromaeosaur, show how these animals adapted to polar winters. While temperatures would have been warmer than modern Antarctica, the polar dinosaurs still needed adaptations for dealing with extended periods without sunlight, and may have employed strategies such as migration to lower latitudes for winter, or some form of dormancy through the darkest months. Island environments created unique evolutionary pressures. In late Cretaceous Europe, which was fragmented into many islands, dinosaurs evolved reduced body sizes compared to their mainland relatives, a phenomenon called insular dwarfism. The dense fossil site discovered in 2025 in Romania's Harteg Basin, dating to 72 million years ago, preserves multiple dwarf dinosaur species that lived on these prehistoric islands. Even the titanosaurs from this region, though still impressively large, were smaller than their continental cousins, adapted to the limited resources of island ecosystems. Different regions developed distinct dinosaur communities. During the late Cretaceous, North America was divided into two land masses by an inland sea. The western portion, called Laramidia, developed its own unique dinosaur fauna. Recent research published in 2025 demonstrates that these dinosaurs showed provinciality, with different communities in northern and southern regions. Tyrannosaurus and many hadrosaurs were found throughout, but species like Alamosaurus, an enormous titanosaur, dominated the southern regions, but was absent from the north. This geographic diversity meant that the last dinosaurs weren't declining, but were thriving in varied ecosystems, right up until the asteroid impact. Climate during the Mesozoic was generally warmer than today, with no permanent polar ice caps. Carbon dioxide levels were higher, creating greenhouse conditions that supported lush vegetation even at high latitudes. Sea levels were also higher, flooding many continental areas and creating vast, shallow seas where marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs thrived. These warm, wet conditions provided the abundant plant growth necessary to support huge populations of giant herbivores. But climate wasn't uniform. During the Jurassic, there's evidence of seasonal monsoons with distinct wet and dry periods affecting dinosaur behavior. During the Cretaceous, volcanic activity from the Deccan Traps, in what is now India, injected gases into the atmosphere, causing fluctuations in global temperatures over millions of years. These long-term changes affected plant communities, which in turn affected herbivorous dinosaurs and their predators. Different dinosaur groups dominated different regions at different times. In the early Cretaceous of China, psittacosaurs were extraordinarily abundant, filling ecological roles similar to later hadrosaurs. In South America, the later Cretaceous saw large sauropods persist longer than in many other regions, supported by continued diversification of flowering plants that provided new food sources. The rise of flowering plants during the Cretaceous, often called the Cretaceous terrestrial revolution, fundamentally changed terrestrial ecosystems. Before flowering plants, landscapes were dominated by conifers, ferns, and cycads. Flowering plants brought flowers, fruits, and new leaf structures. Herbivorous dinosaurs co-evolved with these plants, developing new feeding strategies and digestive adaptations. Some researchers argue that the explosion of ceratopsian and hadrosaur diversity in the late Cretaceous was directly linked to the radiation of flowering plants, providing abundant new food sources. Geographic isolation also led to the evolution of some truly bizarre dinosaurs. In South America, the abelosaurid theropods evolved highly distinctive skull shapes and reduced forelimbs. Carnotaurus represents an extreme of this trend, with horns above its eyes and arms so short they seem almost vestigial. These predators filled the same ecological roles as tyrannosaurs did in North America, but evolved completely different body plans, showing that evolution can reach similar ends through different paths. The recently discovered Zavicephal from Mongolia shows how geographic isolation in Asian ecosystems produced unique, early pachycephalosaurs. Mongolia's Gobi Desert continues to be a rich source of exceptional fossils, preserving dinosaurs in ways that give us unprecedented detail about their appearance and behavior. Understanding dinosaur distribution helps us reconstruct ancient geography. The presence of similar dinosaurs in South America and Africa, for example, shows these continents were still connected in the early Cretaceous. The presence of similar species in Western North America and Eastern Asia indicates land bridges existed that allowed dinosaur migration between these regions. Conversely, the distinctiveness of Australian dinosaurs reflects that continent's long isolation as it drifted south. Climate change, continental drift, and evolution all interacted in complex ways to shape the dinosaur world. The Mesozoic was not a static, unchanging era, but a dynamic period of transformation, with the dinosaurs adapting to each shift, spreading into new territories. and evolving new forms to exploit emerging opportunities. The end. Catastrophe from the sky. 66 million years ago, an asteroid approximately 10 kilometers wide struck Earth traveling at over 20 kilometers per second, impacting what is now the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Based on patterns in fossil fish and other evidence from sites like Tanis, some researchers have suggested this may have occurred during a northern hemisphere spring, though the exact season remains a matter of ongoing study. This single event triggered the end of the Cretaceous period and the extinction of all non-avian dinosaurs. Understanding how this happened requires piecing together evidence from geology, chemistry, and paleontology into a coherent narrative of planetary catastrophe. The impact created the Chicxulub crater, approximately 200 kilometers in diameter, one of the largest impact structures on Earth. The energy released was equivalent to about 10,000 times all of Earth's nuclear weapons combined, or roughly 100 million megatons of TNT. The asteroid vaporized instantly upon impact, along with thousands of cubic kilometers of rock. The collision created a colossal fireball that rose into space, launching molten rock and vaporized material into ballistic trajectories that rained back down across the planet. Within seconds, an enormous pressure wave radiated outward, flattening forests and triggering massive earthquakes. The impact likely registered magnitude 10 or higher on the Richter scale, far exceeding any earthquake in human history. Tsunamis hundreds of meters tall surged across the shallow seas that covered much of the continents, washing far inland and depositing distinctive sediment layers we can still identify today. Perhaps most devastatingly, the impact ejected trillions of tons of pulverized rock, sulfate aerosols, and soot into the upper atmosphere. This material spread globally, blocking sunlight and plunging the Earth into what's called an impact winter. Temperatures plummeted as photosynthesis shut down. Studies suggest sunlight might have been reduced by 90% or more for weeks or months. Plants died. Herbivores starved. Carnivores, having nothing to eat, followed. The darkness lasted long enough to collapse food webs worldwide, but was brief enough in geological terms that it appears as merely a thin layer of clay and rock strata. We know this sequence of events with increasing certainty because of multiple lines of evidence. First, there's the iridium layer. In 1980, physicist Luis Alvarez and his son, geologist Walter Alvarez, discovered that a thin layer of clay at the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary contains unusually high concentrations of iridium, a metal rare in Earth's crust, but common in asteroids. This iridium layer has since been found at hundreds of sites worldwide, always at precisely the same geological moment, always coinciding with the extinction. Second, there's the crater itself, identified in the 1990s through geophysical surveys and drill cores. The Chicxulub structure is exactly the right age, exactly the right size to match the amount of ejecta in the global iridium layer, and shows the characteristic features of a massive impact. In 2016, an international drilling project recovered cores from the crater's peak ring, the circular mountains that form inside the largest impacts. These cores contain shocked quartz, melted rock, and other features that could only form in the extreme conditions of an asteroid strike. In 2021, researchers found elevated iridium concentrations within the crater itself, in a layer deposited in the days to decades after the impact. This smoking gun definitively connects the crater to the global iridium layer and closes any remaining doubts about the cause of the extinction. The study combined results from 4 independent laboratories to ensure accuracy, finding the highest iridium concentrations in a 5-centimeter section of the core retrieved from the crater's peak ring. In 2024, Further research identified the chemical composition of the impactor as a carbonaceous chondrite, a primitive type of asteroid that formed in the outer solar system beyond Jupiter's orbit. Analysis of ruthenium isotopes and other trace elements preserved in impact layers around the world allowed scientists to determine the asteroid's composition with unprecedented precision, effectively identifying what type of space rock killed the dinosaurs. The impact winter hypothesis has been tested through climate modeling, published in 2020 in the journal PNAS. Researchers simulated the effects of soot and sulfate aerosols in the atmosphere, with their models suggesting that global temperatures could have dropped dramatically, potentially by as much as 26 degrees Celsius in the most severe scenarios. Even more conservative simulations showed significant cooling lasting for years. The models demonstrated that an asteroid impact of the observed size would create conditions consistent with the mass extinction patterns seen in the fossil record, while alternative explanations involving volcanism alone could not reproduce the same effects. Some scientists have argued that volcanic eruptions from the Deccan Traps in India, which were occurring at the same time, contributed to the extinction. The Deccan eruptions released enormous amounts of gases over a period of around 2 million years, including the time of the extinction. These eruptions may have been causing gradual climate changes and stressing ecosystems. However, the 2020 climate modeling study and subsequent research has shown that while Deccan volcanism was occurring, it was not sufficient to cause the mass extinction. In fact, the volcanic activity may have partially buffered the extreme cooling from the impact by releasing greenhouse gases that slowed the temperature drop slightly. The fossil record paints a clear picture of what happened. In rocks dating to just before the impact, dinosaurs were thriving. The 2025 study of fossils from New Mexico, dating to within 340,000 years before the asteroid strike, shows diverse dinosaur communities flourishing right up to the end, with no evidence of decline. Different regions supported different species, with enormous titanosaurs like Alamosaurus in the south, and northern communities dominated by hadrosaurs and ceratopsians. The extinction was sudden and catastrophic, not gradual. The Tanis site in North Dakota provides extraordinary details that may capture aspects of the extinction event itself. This site appears to preserve fossils from shortly after the impact, though the exact time frame remains debated. Amber found at Tanis contains microtectites, tiny glass spheres that formed from molten rock, ejected by the impact, and fell back to Earth while still hot. Fish fossils show gill cavities packed with debris. While some researchers remain skeptical of certain claims about the site, and debates continue about its precise interpretation, it provides an unusually detailed glimpse into conditions around the time of the extinction. Approximately 75% of all species went extinct. All non-avian dinosaurs died. So did the pterosaurs and most marine reptiles. Ammonites, the coiled shell cephalopods that had survived multiple earlier mass extinctions, finally disappeared. Many groups of marine plankton were devastated. On land, any animal weighing more than 25 kilograms had only a tiny chance of survival. But life persisted. Small mammals survived, hiding in burrows that protected them from the initial heat and foraging on seeds and insects in the aftermath. Birds survived, possibly because their small size meant they needed less food and could subsist on seeds that remained viable in the soil. Crocodiles and turtles survived, perhaps because their ectothermic metabolism allowed them to go for long periods without food. In the oceans, sharks and rays survived, as did some fish. Land plants took a severe hit initially, but recovered quickly from seeds and roots. The extinction opened up ecological opportunities. With the giant herbivores and predators gone, mammals began to diversify, gradually growing larger and filling the niches dinosaurs once occupied. Birds underwent rapid radiation, evolving into the 10,000 species we see today. The world was fundamentally changed, and from that change, our own ancestors would eventually emerge. Birds, the dinosaurs among us. The most remarkable fact about dinosaur extinction might be that dinosaurs didn't actually go extinct. Look out your window and you're likely to see dinosaurs flying past, perching on branches, hopping across lawns. Birds are dinosaurs, not metaphorically or poetically, but in the strictest scientific sense. They evolved from small theropod dinosaurs in the Jurassic period and are living members of the dinosaur family tree. Understanding this connection transforms how we view both ancient dinosaurs and modern birds. The bird-dinosaur connection was first proposed in the 1860s by Thomas Henry Huxley, who noticed striking similarities between Archaeopteryx, discovered in 1861, and small theropod dinosaurs like Compsognathus. Both had similar skeletal structures, particularly in their legs, hips, and vertebrae. Huxley suggested Archaeopteryx was a missing link between dinosaurs and birds, but his idea met with skepticism in an era when evolution itself was still controversial. The connection was largely forgotten until the 1960s, when John Ostrom's description of Deinonychus reignited interest in dinosaur-bird relationships. Ostrom noted numerous similarities in anatomy and argued that birds must have evolved from active, agile theropods. His work, along with that of his student Robert Bakker, launched the dinosaur renaissance, a revolution in how we thought about dinosaurs, transforming them from slow, stupid reptiles into dynamic, possibly warm-blooded animals, more similar to birds than to modern lizards. The discovery of feathered dinosaurs in China in the 1990s provided overwhelming evidence for the bird-dinosaur connection. Sinosauropteryx showed simple, filamentous feathers on a decidedly non-flying dinosaur. Diptrix had clearly defined feathers on its arms and tail, but its proportions showed it couldn't fly. Microraptor possessed 4 wings and could glide but retained many dinosaurian features. Each discovery filled in details of how the transformation from ground-dwelling dinosaur to flying bird occurred. Today, the evolutionary tree is clear. Birds belong to a group called Maniraptora within the theropod dinosaurs, closely related to dromaeosaurs like Velociraptor and Oviraptors. In fact, birds are more closely related to Velociraptor than Velociraptor is to Tyrannosaurus rex. The features we consider distinctly avian evolved gradually over millions of years in dinosaur ancestors. Feathers appeared first, probably for insulation, long before flight. Hollow bones filled with air sacs evolved to reduce weight while maintaining strength. The wishbone, or furcula, formed from fused clavicles in theropod dinosaurs long before birds existed. These features, which we think of as bird characteristics, actually evolved in dinosaurs for other purposes and were later co-opted for flight. The evolution of flight itself likely involved multiple stages. Some dinosaurs, like Microraptor, could glide using feathered arms and legs. Others may have used feathered forelimbs for balance when running, or for flapping to help them run faster up inclines, gradually developing the ability to become briefly airborne. The first powered flight probably involved short bursts from the ground to escape predators or reach high perches, with sustained flight evolving later. Archaeopteryx, from the late Jurassic period, approximately 150 million years ago, shows an elegant mosaic of dinosaurian and bird-like features. It had teeth, a long bony tail, and clawed fingers on its wings, all dinosaurian traits. But it had fully developed flight feathers, a wishbone, and proportions suggesting it could fly, at least to some degree. Whether it was a strong flyer or mostly a glider remains debated, but it clearly represents a transitional form, though not directly ancestral to modern birds. Many other bird-like dinosaurs followed in the Cretaceous. Confuciusornis from China, dated to about 125 million years ago, had lost its teeth, developing a beak instead. Some specimens show 2 long tail feathers, suggesting sexual dimorphism and display behaviors. Jeholornis had a shorter tail than Archaeopteryx, but still retained teeth. These early birds coexisted with many non-flying feathered dinosaurs, creating diverse communities in which the boundaries between bird and dinosaur blur considerably. Not all bird lineages survived the end Cretaceous extinction. Many types of birds died out along with non-avian dinosaurs. But some lineages did survive, and these were the ancestors of all modern birds. These survivors were likely small, could eat seeds that remained viable in the soil, and may have been more adaptable in their habits than the highly specialized forms that went extinct. After the extinction, birds underwent explosive diversification. Within a few million years, the major modern bird lineages had appeared. Today's 10,000 bird species are all dinosaurs, carrying forward a lineage that extends back over 230 million years to the first dinosaurs in the Triassic. When you watch a robin hunting for worms or a hawk soaring on thermal currents, you're observing behaviors descended from their dinosaur ancestors. Modern birds retain many dinosaurian features. Their scales on their legs are identical in structure to dinosaur scales. Their method of building nests, sitting on eggs to incubate them, and caring for young mirrors behaviors we see fossilized in nests of oviraptors and other dinosaurs. Some birds, like cassowaries, have large claws on their feet, reminiscent of the sickle claws of dromaeosaurs. The aggressive territorial behaviors of many birds echo their predatory ancestors. The transformation of dinosaurs into birds involved dramatic changes in some systems, while others remained remarkably conservative. The basic body plan stayed consistent, but sizes decreased dramatically in the lineage leading to birds. Over 50 million years, body mass decreased from an average of 163 kilograms to less than 1 kilogram, a dramatic sustained trend of miniaturization. This shrinking happened at about 4 times the normal rate of evolution in dinosaurs, driven by strong selection pressures. As they shrank, these dinosaurs developed adaptations that would later enable flight. Their bones became lighter and more pneumatic. Their metabolism increased, requiring more food but providing more energy. Their brains grew relative to body size, increasing intelligence and coordination. Their vision improved, crucial for the 3-dimensional navigation required for flight. All these changes occurred while the animals were still ground-dwelling, showing that major adaptations can accumulate gradually, then enable entirely new behaviors when circumstances allow. The diversity of modern birds showcases the evolutionary potential inherited from their dinosaur ancestors. From the tiniest hummingbird at less than 2 grams to the ostrich at over 100 kilograms, from penguins adapted for swimming to eagles specialized for hunting, birds have adapted to virtually every terrestrial environment and many aquatic ones. This versatility reflects their dinosaurian heritage, descending from a group that dominated the planet for 165 million years through constant adaptation and innovation. Understanding that birds are dinosaurs also forces us to reconsider what extinction means. The non-avian dinosaurs died out 66 million years ago, but their lineage continues. The evolutionary experiments of the Mesozoic weren't entirely ended by the asteroid impact. Some threads survived, carried forward in the birds, which continue to evolve and adapt today. In this sense, the age of dinosaurs never truly ended. It just transformed into something new. Movement and locomotion. How dinosaurs walked their world. The way dinosaurs moved through their environments reveals as much about their lives as their teeth or claws. From the thundering footfalls of giants to the delicate steps of tiny predators, dinosaur locomotion showcases remarkable diversity and sophisticated biomechanical adaptations. All theropod dinosaurs were bipedal, walking and running on their two hind legs. This stance, with legs positioned directly beneath the body, rather than sprawling to the sides, was one of the key innovations that allowed dinosaurs to dominate terrestrial ecosystems. The upright posture meant dinosaurs could support more weight with less energy expenditure, move more efficiently, and potentially achieve higher speeds than animals with sprawling gaits. The evolution of bipedalism in dinosaurs traces back to their ancestors in the Triassic period. Research shows that proto-dinosaurs had large, powerful tail muscles that provided the strength necessary to stand and move on two legs. These tails acted as counterbalances, allowing the body weight to be distributed evenly over the hips. Modern lizards demonstrate similar mechanics when they rise up and run bipedally, though they can only maintain this for short bursts. Dinosaurs, by contrast, evolved to be obligate bipeds, incapable of reverting to four-legged stance. Over time, adaptations refined bipedal locomotion. Hind limbs elongated, increasing stride length and speed potential. Forelimbs became smaller in many lineages, reducing weight in front of the center of mass and improving balance. The feet evolved a digitigrade posture, meaning dinosaurs walked on their toes rather than flat-footed, similar to modern dogs and cats. This posture, with elongated metatarsal bones acting like an extra limb segment, increased the effective length of the leg and allowed for more efficient striding. The success of early dinosaurs can be partly attributed to their locomotive advantages over competitors. A 2024 study published in Royal Society Open Science compared limb proportions of Triassic reptiles and found that from their very beginning, dinosaurs and their relatives showed not only bipedal, cursorial adaptations for running, but also a much wider range of locomotory styles than their main competitors, the pseudosuchians, which included crocodile ancestors. When environmental pressures intensified 233 million years ago, as climates shifted from wet to dry, this locomotive adaptability gave dinosaurs a crucial advantage. They were faster, more dynamic, and could adjust to changing conditions more readily than other groups. Speed estimates for bipedal dinosaurs have evolved considerably over the years. Early calculations sometimes suggested small theropods could sprint at 40 miles per hour or more, comparable to modern cheetahs. However, recent biomechanical modeling has revised these estimates. A 2025 study indicates that even the fastest two-legged dinosaurs likely topped out around 20 to 25 miles per hour based on current models, still quick, but far from the sprinting speeds sometimes imagined in popular culture. The so-called ostrich dinosaurs, ornithomimids built for speed with their long legs and light bodies, probably reached maximum speeds estimated between 35 and 60 kilometers per hour. Impressive for animals of their size, though estimates vary depending on the modeling assumptions used. Larger bipedal dinosaurs moved more slowly. Tyrannosaurus rex, despite its fearsome reputation, was likely restricted to walking or slow trotting, with estimated maximum speeds around 15 to 20 kilometers per hour, based on biomechanical analyses. Its enormous mass, up to 9 tons, made fast running mechanically challenging, or impossible according to some models. The stresses on leg bones during running scale with body mass and above a certain size, the forces generated could exceed what bone could withstand. Some researchers have argued that adult T-Rex couldn't run at all, in the technical sense, only walk quickly, though this remains debated. This doesn't mean they were ineffective hunters. They didn't need to be exceptionally fast if their prey was also large and relatively slow. Trackways provide direct evidence of dinosaur movement. Unlike bones, which show potential for certain gaits, footprints capture actual behavior frozen in time. The spacing between prints reveals stride length. The depth and shape of prints indicate speed, with faster-moving animals leaving shallower, more widely spaced tracks. By applying principles from studies of modern animals, where relationships between stride length, speed, and body size are well understood, paleontologists can estimate speeds from fossilized trackways. Alexander's method, developed in the 1970s, uses the concept of dynamic similarity. Animals of different sizes moving with equal Froude numbers, a dimensionless measure combining speed, leg length, and gravity, tend to use similar gaits. This allows researchers to estimate speeds from the relative stride lengths visible in trackways. Multiple such analyses have confirmed that most dinosaurs moved at moderate speeds most of the time, with occasional bursts of faster movement when necessary. Quadrupedal locomotion evolved multiple times independently within dinosaurs. All ornithischians were primitively bipedal, but several lineages reverted to four-legged walking. Ceratopsians, thyreophorans, including stegosaurs and ankylosaurs, and hadrosaurs all independently returned to quadrupedalism. Sauropods also evolved from bipedal ancestors. This repeated evolution suggests strong, selective advantages to quadrupedalism under certain circumstances. Why revert to four legs? The reasons vary by group. In sauropods, the enormous gut necessary to process huge amounts of plant material may have made bipedal stance mechanically impossible. The weight distribution would cause them to topple forward. In ceratopsians, increasing head size changed the center of mass, potentially necessitating support from the forelimbs. In thyreophorans, heavy armor might be assumed to require quadrupedal support, though research suggests this alone doesn't explain the transition, as even lightly armored forms became quadrupedal. Interestingly, some dinosaurs show evidence of facultative quadrupedalism, able to move on either two or four legs, depending on circumstances. Iguanodontian ornithopods like Parasaurolophus may have walked quadrupedally, but risen to bipedal stance for running or reaching high vegetation. Trackways sometimes show switching between gaits, with the same individual leaving bipedal prints in some areas and quadrupedal prints elsewhere. Scutellosaurus, a basal thyreophoran, represents a fascinating case study. Recent biomechanical simulations demonstrate that while this small armored dinosaur could physically walk on four legs, quadrupedal gaits didn't outperform bipedal locomotion in any tested metric. The research suggests Scutellosaurus was overwhelmingly bipedal, but might have used all four limbs occasionally for specific activities, like foraging close to the ground. This represents an intermediate stage, showing how the pathway toward obligate quadrupedalism might have begun. The anatomy of quadrupedal dinosaurs differs substantially from bipeds. The forelimbs had to be modified for weight bearing, with stronger, more robust bones and different muscle attachments. The shoulder girdle changed dramatically, transforming from the narrow, mobile structure of bipeds into a broader, more rigid framework capable of supporting body weight. The hands changed too, with the fingers becoming shorter and stouter, arranged in configurations that distributed weight across a broad surface rather than grasping prey. Different quadrupedal groups solved these problems in different ways. Stegosaurs had relatively short forelimbs compared to their hind limbs, suggesting they bore less weight on their front legs. and might have been able to rear up on their hind legs when necessary. Ankylosaurs had forelimbs and hind limbs of more similar length, indicating more even weight distribution. Their low-slung, wide stance provided exceptional stability, crucial for an animal covered in heavy armor. Sauropods developed column-like legs, essentially vertical posts supporting tremendous weight, with minimal joint angulation to reduce the muscular effort needed to stand. The speed capabilities of quadrupedal dinosaurs varied dramatically. Stegosaurs and ankylosaurs, heavily built and armored, probably had maximum speeds around 6 to 8 kilometers per hour, a slow walking pace for humans. They didn't need speed. Their defensive adaptations protected them from predators. Sauropods, despite their immense size, may have managed 12 to 17 kilometers per hour, moving at a slow trot when necessary. Some ceratopsians, particularly the larger forms, might have been capable of speeds up to 25 kilometers per hour, enough to escape from all but the most persistent predators. Turning ability presented challenges for large dinosaurs, particularly bipeds. When an animal turns, rotational inertia resists the change in direction, and this resistance increases dramatically with body length. Long-bodied, long-tailed dinosaurs like large theropods had very high moments of inertia and yaw, making quick turns difficult. Some researchers have suggested that carnosaurs may have run with their trunks and tails positioned in a V shape rather than horizontally, reducing rotational inertia, though this remains controversial. The locomotor diversity of dinosaurs reflects their ecological diversity. In forests, agile predators like Velociraptor navigated through dense vegetation with their slender bodies and quick reflexes. On open plains, massive sauropods lumbered between feeding grounds, their pillar-like legs eating distance with steady, energy-efficient strides. In deserts, small theropods like Shibuya adapted to harsh conditions, using their long legs for sustained running across open ground and powerful forearms for digging prey from burrows. Each environment selected for different locomotive strategies, creating the spectacular variety we see in the fossil record. Warm blood, cold blood, and everything between. One of the most hotly debated questions in dinosaur paleontology concerns metabolism. Were dinosaurs warm-blooded like mammals and birds, maintaining constant body temperature through internal heat generation? Were they cold-blooded like modern reptiles, relying on external heat sources? Or were they something in between, employing metabolic strategies unknown in living animals? The question matters because metabolism fundamentally determines behavior, ecology, and life history. Warm-blooded animals, or endotherms, generate heat through metabolic processes, allowing them to remain active in cool conditions, but requiring substantial food intake to fuel their internal furnaces. Cold-blooded animals, or ectotherms, need far less food, but depend on environmental temperature for activity levels, becoming sluggish when cool and requiring basking or other behavioral thermoregulation. For most of the 20th century, dinosaurs were assumed to be cold-blooded, slow-moving creatures like overgrown lizards. This view began changing in the 1960s and 1970s during the dinosaur renaissance. John Ostrom and Robert Bakker argued that dinosaurs' active lifestyles, upright postures, and sometimes predatory behaviors indicated warm-bloodedness. Bakker noted that the ratio of predators to prey in dinosaur faunas more closely resembled mammal communities than reptile communities, suggesting dinosaurs had mammal-like metabolism, requiring similar amounts of food. Evidence for warm-bloodedness in at least some dinosaurs has accumulated steadily. Bone histology, the microscopic structure of bone tissue, provides crucial clues. Endotherms typically have well-vascularized bone, with numerous blood vessels supplying oxygen and nutrients for rapid growth. Many dinosaur bones show extensive vascularization and fibrolamellar bone, a tissue type associated with fast growth in living endotherms. Growth lines in dinosaur bones indicate they grew rapidly when young, some species adding several tons of mass per year. Growth rates impossible for ectotherms. The discovery of feathered dinosaurs strongly supports endothermy in theropods. Feathers function primarily for insulation in living animals. They're pointless for an ectotherm that doesn't generate internal heat. The presence of feathers or feather-like structures on numerous theropod lineages suggests these dinosaurs maintained elevated body temperatures, requiring insulation. Even large tyrannosaurs show evidence of downy feathers in juveniles, though adults may have had reduced coverage due to different thermoregulatory needs at larger body sizes. However, the situation is more complex than simple warm-blooded versus cold-blooded. Dinosaurs may have employed a range of metabolic strategies, with different groups having different physiologies. Large sauropods present a particular puzzle. Some calculations suggest that if a giant sauropod had mammal-like metabolism, it would need to consume impossibly large amounts of food. Yet their bone histology shows rapid growth, suggesting high metabolic rates. The solution might lie in mesothermy, an intermediate strategy. Gigantothermy, or mass homeothermy, refers to temperature stability achieved through large body size rather than metabolic heat production. Large animals have low surface area to volume ratios, meaning they lose heat slowly. Even if a giant sauropod had relatively low metabolic rate per unit mass, its sheer size would result in heat retention and stable body temperature. Computer models suggest that sauropods weighing over several tons would maintain nearly constant body temperature, regardless of external conditions, simply from their mass. This doesn't mean sauropods were ectotherms with low metabolic rates. Their growth rates indicate substantial metabolic activity. Rather, they might have had intermediate metabolic rates, higher than modern reptiles, but lower than modern mammals, sufficient for rapid growth when combined with gigantothermy for temperature stability. This mesothermic strategy would provide advantages of both endothermy constant activity and body temperature, and ectothermy lower food requirements. Ornithischian dinosaurs present another picture. Hadrosaurs and ceratopsians show bone histology indicating rapid growth, suggesting elevated metabolism. However, they lacked the insulating feathers of theropods. Some researchers propose they may have been bulk homeotherms, like large mammals today, relying partially on size for temperature stability, but also generating metabolic heat. Others suggest metabolic rates might have varied seasonally, with higher rates during active seasons and lower rates during dormant periods, similar to modern bears. Small dinosaurs face different thermoregulatory challenges. With high surface area to volume ratios, they would lose heat rapidly. Feathers or feather-like structures provided essential insulation. Some small dinosaurs living in polar regions faced extreme conditions, enduring months of darkness and potentially freezing temperatures. The discovery of feathered dinosaurs in Australia from locations that were within the Antarctic Circle during the Cretaceous demonstrates that at least some dinosaurs possessed adaptations for extreme cold. Whether they hibernated during winter, migrated to warmer regions, or remained active using metabolic heat generation remains debated, but some combination of these strategies seems likely. The evolution of warm-bloodedness in the dinosaur lineage leading to birds can be traced through multiple lines of evidence. As body size decreased over 50 million years, these theropods developed increasingly sophisticated feather coats, larger hearts relative to body size, more efficient respiratory systems, with air sacs extending through the skeleton, and four-chambered hearts with complete separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. These adaptations collectively indicate a transition toward avian-style endothermy. One recent approach to determining dinosaur metabolism involves analyzing oxygen isotopes in tooth enamel. Because body temperature affects how oxygen isotopes are incorporated into growing teeth, the isotopic composition can reveal body temperature at the time of tooth formation. Studies using this method have found that large dinosaurs maintain body temperatures between those of modern ectotherms and endotherms, supporting mesothermic interpretations. However, the method has limitations and remains somewhat controversial. The debate over dinosaur metabolism illustrates how paleontology continues to evolve. Rather than simple answers, we increasingly recognize that dinosaurs exhibited diverse metabolic strategies, with different lineages solving thermoregulatory challenges in different ways. This metabolic diversity, like their morphological and behavioral diversity, helped dinosaurs dominate terrestrial ecosystems for over 160 million years. Senses and intelligence, perceiving the Mesozoic world. Dinosaurs experienced the world through senses that, while similar in basic form to those of living animals, varied dramatically in acuity and importance across different groups. Understanding these sensory capabilities helps us reconstruct how dinosaurs interacted with their environments, found food, avoided predators, and communicated with each other. Vision was crucial for many dinosaurs. Skull structure reveals eye socket size and positioning, allowing estimates of eyeball dimensions and the extent of binocular overlap. Tyrannosaurs had remarkably large eye sockets, housing eyes comparable in size to those of modern horses. The forward-facing position of these eyes provided substantial binocular overlap, meaning the visual fields of both eyes overlapped significantly in front of the skull. This arrangement provides depth perception, allowing precise distance judgment, crucial for predators that must accurately judge the position of moving prey. The brain structure of Tyrannosaurus, revealed through CT scans of the skull cavity, shows enlarged optic lobes, the regions processing visual information. This neural architecture indicates that vision was a primary sense for T-Rex. The combination of large eye size, forward-facing position, and substantial brain regions devoted to vision suggests Tyrannosaur eyesight was likely quite acute. The large pupils would have gathered significant light, potentially allowing Tyrannosaurs to see well in low light conditions, which could have enabled hunting during twilight hours when prey might be more vulnerable. Troodon possessed the largest brain-to-body ratio of any non-avian dinosaur, suggesting high intelligence. Its eyes were absolutely enormous, taking up much of the side of the skull. The large pupil size and forward-facing orientation suggests Troodon hunted primarily by sight and may have been active at night. The large brain relative to body size, combined with sensory adaptations, paints a picture of a cunning, alert predator capable of complex behavior and problem solving. Herbivorous dinosaurs showed different visual adaptations. Hadrosaurs had eyes positioned more laterally on the skull, providing a wide field of view for detecting predators approaching from any direction. The trade-off was reduced binocular overlap and thus less precise depth perception, an acceptable compromise for animals whose survival depended more on detecting danger than judging distances precisely. Ceratopsians similarly had laterally placed eyes, though their large frills may have somewhat blocked rearward vision, a potential vulnerability compensated by herd living where many eyes provided collective vigilance. Hearing capabilities varied across dinosaur groups. Some, hadrosaurs possessed elaborate hollow crests that functioned as resonating chambers. CT scans of these structures reveal internal passages and chambers that would have modified sounds passing through them. Computer models suggest different species produced distinctly different calls, from deep, resonant booms to higher-pitched trumpeting. Based on the size and structure of these crests, such calls could have carried over considerable distances, helping maintain communication between herd members. The inner ear structure, preserved in fossil skulls, reveals something about hearing range and balance. The semicircular canals, fluid-filled structures that detect head rotation and help maintain balance, show adaptations related to lifestyle. Fast-moving predators tend to have larger semicircular canals than slower-moving animals, and the same pattern appears in dinosaurs. Agile predators like dromaeosaurs show canal dimensions, suggesting excellent balance and head-eye coordination for tracking fast-moving prey. Smell represented a crucial sense for many dinosaurs. Olfactory bulbs, the brain regions processing scent information, can be estimated in size from the cavity they occupied in the skull. Tyrannosaurs had exceptionally large olfactory bulbs, larger relative to brain size than almost any living animal. This suggests an extraordinary sense of smell, which could have been useful for detecting carcasses from great distances. The large olfactory apparatus supports interpretations that tyrannosaurs scavenged opportunistically in addition to hunting, using their sensitive noses to locate distant food sources. Troodon also showed relatively large olfactory bulbs, though smaller than in tyrannosaurs. The combination of excellent vision and good smell in a relatively intelligent predator suggests sophisticated hunting strategies. Troodon might have tracked prey by scent, located it visually, and employed complex tactics to capture it, perhaps even working cooperatively with others of its species. Some dinosaurs may have had senses we can barely imagine. Modern birds can detect Earth's magnetic field, using it for navigation during migration. The biological mechanism involves specialized proteins in the retina, and it's conceivable this capability existed in non-avian dinosaurs as well, though we have no direct evidence. If hadrosaurs migrated seasonally, as trackway evidence suggests, such a magnetic sense would have been advantageous for navigation. Similarly, some birds see ultraviolet light, revealing patterns invisible to human eyes. Feathered dinosaurs may have possessed similar visual capabilities, perhaps displaying UV patterns important for species recognition or mate choice, patterns that would be invisible in fossilized remains. Intelligence in dinosaurs remains difficult to quantify. Brain size relative to body size, called the encephalization quotient, provides a rough measure, though it's imperfect. Most dinosaurs had EQ values lower than modern mammals, but higher than modern reptiles. Theropods generally had higher EQ than ornithischians or sauropods, consistent with the cognitive demands of predatory lifestyles. However, brain size alone doesn't tell the whole story. Brain structure matters more than size. The relative sizes of different brain regions indicate which cognitive functions were emphasized. Tyrannosaurs had large regions for processing smell and vision, but relatively smaller forebrain regions associated with complex cognition in mammals. This suggests they were specialized for sensory processing rather than complex problem solving. Effective hunters, but not necessarily clever in ways we might recognize. Troodon, by contrast, had relatively enlarged forebrain regions in addition to large sensory areas. This combination has led some researchers to suggest it may have been capable of more sophisticated behavior, perhaps including some degree of planning or social coordination. Whether Troodons were capable of cultural transmission, passing learned behaviors from one generation to the next, remains purely speculative, as direct evidence for such behavior is impossible to obtain from fossils. The behavior of modern birds, living dinosaurs, might provide insights into extinct dinosaurian intelligence. Crows and parrots demonstrate remarkable cognitive abilities, solving complex puzzles, using tools, and even showing theory of mind, the understanding that other individuals have knowledge and intentions. Whether any non-avian dinosaurs approach such cognitive sophistication remains unknown, though it seems conceivable that some of the more encephalized species may have been capable of more complex behaviors than we often imagine. Parental care behavior suggests some level of cognitive sophistication. The numerous dinosaur nesting sites showing evidence of extended parental care indicate that at least some species recognized and cared for their offspring, returning repeatedly to nests over extended periods. This requires memory, ability to navigate back to specific locations, and some degree of planning. In modern animals, extended parental care correlates with higher intelligence, as parents must make complex decisions about resource allocation and must be able to recognize their own offspring among many similar juveniles. The sensory world of dinosaurs was rich and varied, shaped by ecology and behavior. Predators relied heavily on vision and smell to locate prey. Herbivores depended on keen senses to detect approaching danger. Social species used vocal and visual signals to coordinate group behavior. And across all groups, the processing of sensory information drove brain evolution, creating the diversity of cognitive capabilities that characterize these remarkable animals. Closing reflections. And so we've traveled through deep time, from the first discoveries of enormous fossilized bones to the latest revelations emerging from laboratories worldwide. We've stood beside the largest animals ever to walk the earth and marveled at predators and prey locked in ancient struggles. We've witnessed the daily lives of creatures separated from us by millions of years, yet connected through the unbroken thread of evolution. We've seen how life adapts, transforms, and persists, even through catastrophic change. Dinosaurs dominated this planet for a period almost incomprehensibly long by human standards. In that vast span of time, they evolved into thousands of forms, adapted to every terrestrial environment, and left behind clues to their existence that we're still deciphering. Each fossil discovered, each new analysis completed, each hypothesis tested, adds another piece to the puzzle of understanding these magnificent animals. What's perhaps most remarkable is how much we've learned and how much remains unknown. The dinosaurs we've discussed tonight represent a tiny fraction of species that existed, themselves representing a tiny fraction of individuals that lived. Most dinosaurs left no trace, their bodies decomposing without preservation. Of those that fossilized, most remain buried or have eroded away. Yet, from this fragmentary record, scientists have reconstructed entire ecosystems, determined behaviors, and traced evolutionary relationships across millions of years. The ongoing discoveries keep reminding us that our picture of dinosaurs remains incomplete. The feathered dinosaurs of China, unknown just 30 years ago, completely transformed how we imagine these animals. The confirmation of Nanotyrannus as a distinct species in 2025 rewrites late Cretaceous food webs. The dense fossil beds of Romania reveal ecosystems we never knew existed. Each discovery raises new questions, even as it answers old ones. As you drift towards sleep tonight, perhaps you'll dream of forests where giants walked, of skies filled with pterosaurs, of ancient sunlight filtering through branches onto creatures both strange and somehow familiar. The dinosaurs are gone, yet they remain, their story written in stone, their legacy carried forward in every bird that greets the dawn These journeys through science and history, through biology and deep time, offer us perspective. The dinosaurs remind us that nothing is permanent, that species rise and fall, that catastrophic change is part of Earth's story. Yet they also remind us that life persists, adapts, and continues, transforming in response to challenges, finding new ways to thrive when old ways fail. If you found peace in this exploration, if these facts and stories have helped you unwind and given your mind something other than daily concerns to ponder as you drift off, I'd be grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to Whispered Knowledge. Your support helps me continue creating these peaceful educational journeys, allowing others to discover this channel and find their own comfort in learning. Thank you for spending this time exploring the age of dinosaurs with me. May your dreams be filled with wonders. May you sleep peacefully, and may you wake refreshed, carrying with you a sense of connection to the vast, ancient story of life on Earth. Sleep well, and good night.